So now a lot of you might be wondering, now that I have my fins and stability is so important, how do I attach them in the proper place to my rocket? And there's a lot of fancy tricks that people have made over the years, but I'm going to show you my fancy trick. So I start with a strip of paper like this, okay? And I have my rocket body, right? And I want to make this strip of paper exactly the same length as the circumference of my rocket. So I wrap it around like this, and I bring it right over to the edge, and I take the point where it overlaps, right? You can see where it kind of overlaps. Can you see? Or is there too much sun? Anyways, you'll see it with your own eyes when you do this. And I'm going to make a mark at the top and bottom where it overlaps so that I'm exactly at the circumference, okay? And then I'm going to cut right there. All right, now I have a strip of paper that is exactly the circumference of my rocket, okay? And if I can evenly mark, you see that? If I can evenly mark this, then I can evenly mark where my fins must be placed on the actual rocket. Okay, if you have a 4-fin rocket style, this is extremely easy, so easy. All you need to do is fold it in half once, okay, and then fold it in half again. And then when you unfold it, you have 4 evenly spaced marks. And the beautiful thing is, once you recreate the circumference, then you just make a little mark on the tube everywhere you see a fold. Okay? I've done that. Now I have a mark everywhere that there is a fold. That's where I need to place my engines. Okay? Question. If you were doing a 3-fin style, what would you do instead? Well, it's not that different. Just take a ruler, measure this, whatever you get, let's say 5.5 inches, divide that by 3, and then make markings on this at exactly those intervals, okay? Again, wrap it around the edge, and then instead of 4 marks, you'll make 3 marks where you mark those intervals because you divided the whole length of this by 3. Does that make sense? Hope so. All right, so one more pro tip. I have these dots, but fins are long, right? I want to make sure that they're perfectly aligned, and otherwise I'm creating more drag forces, right? I don't want these to be crooked. If it's crooked, it's going to spiral when it goes up, which looks cool, but it's not a fully stable rocket, right? So the goal is then, we want some sort of perfectly straight line, a normal line with the bottom of this tube that actually you can use as a tracer when you're attaching the fins of your rocket, all right? The best way that I know to do this is to take the rocket, line it up with a door jamb, right? So like you have there's like the little molding that's around your door. Take that, put it up against it so that the edge of this is right up against that molding, and it forms a perfect up and down ruler. And so then you just trace along here against that molding, and you get a perfect up and down line. All right. Currently, I don't have anybody to record me except myself, which means that I can't go to a door jam and record myself. Unfortunately, it'd be really awkward to hold all these and draw at the same time. But I'm hoping you get the idea from that. So, all right. Now you have your lines. You have your fins. What do? All right, here's what I like to do. I like to take the glue, which is also in your glue kit, and I like to spread a little line over here, right? Sometimes it helps if you just let it sit out and dry for 2 minutes or so, maybe 5 minutes. But you want it to get just a little bit harder, because the harder it is, the closer it is to drying and the more adhesive it is, okay? So you don't need a lot at first, all right? You don't need a lot. So you take your little fin, and you dab it in, give it a little dab, okay? And you should have a nice thin little layer of wood glue along the edge of your rocket, okay? And the thing that I like to do is I like to keep my rocket upside down like this, right? Find the line that I just made, and then I just push it up against it and hold it there and wait for about a minute. And sometimes I'll blow on the edges, and I just hold it there and I let it dry. And with any luck, when you release it, it'll stay. Okay, when you let go, it'll stay there. That's awesome. It's at least stable. Keep an eye on it because it can still slide and slip, but if if you've done this right, you should be able to get it to stay there. Now, then you go ahead and you do the same thing with the next fin, and you glue it right there. The next one, you glue it right there. And if you have 4, you do a 4th one, and you glue it right there, okay? And then you're going to have these 4 fins all on the outside of your rocket everywhere like this, okay? At that point, you're golden. Don't touch it. Don't look at it weird. Don't blow on it. Just let it stay there. If you notice that things are sliding, and often sliding happens if you put too much glue on it, but if you notice things are sliding, maybe push it back up, hold it for another minute, blow on it very gently without interfering with any of the other fins, but ultimately let it dry like that. Once it's dried for 24 hours, then it's always valuable to do a reinforcement layer. And for a reinforcement layer, what I usually do is I have, this thing's here, right? So I'll take my glue and I'll put a little dab of glue right there, a semi-significant dab of glue, and then I will slide it with my fingers all along the edge so that there's this increased seal along the outside, okay? And then I'll do it with the other side on the inside here. I'll put a little piece of glue, spread it along until there's like a nice seam of glue on either side. Don't worry about if you get a little bit of glue on the actual body of the rocket. You'll sand that down at the very end. But now this is reinforced, and it'll be less likely that the fin flies off when you launch your rocket. All right. Once you have your reinforcement layers, leave it to dry again for another 24 hours, and your fins should be attached even stronger than as if they were wood themselves. That's the whole idea with wood glue, is that it dries as hard as wood, if not harder than wood. And with that said, that is my video on fins, and I will meet you back here later for a video on the recovery system. How do you make your parachute?